Hey everyone, welcome back. As promised, I am back in action after taking a little break for lunch and getting some coffee and everything like that. I did get the terrain I had built earlier primed up, and so that's what I'm going to be working on right now. So if you are joining me for part 2, first of all, thank you and welcome. Take over Mars. Hello, hello. And so I'm just going to be hanging out today, doing a whole lot of dry brushing, as I try to get this terrain cranked out. So let's go down to the downward cam, move that there, and I'm just gonna kind of organize what I want to do first. Just so I'm just gonna be throwing a whole lot of stuff around here. I tried basically doing a Zenithal-ish type thing with this. I primed them black and then went back over the light sprinkling of gray from Army Painter, and I gotta say, I don't like their gray. It comes out very gritty feeling. Shook the can for tons of time, and it's a perfect day for priming, and so I just didn't pan out quite right. That's all right though. Worse things could have happened. Give me one second. And then here's the bulk of it. So let's get all the buildings together. So we'll do buildings over here. Fences on the other side. I'm going to keep the color palette pretty minimal on these because I want the models to pop, really. Okay, Jelly back. Hello, hello. Let's see. I'll tilt my light back down so I can see what I'm doing. Like I said, all of the dry brushing. So I'm got a big old dry brush here. That's probably enough. And that's actually going to be the tool I use the most this afternoon. Wolf-on gray. So what I'm going to do basically is go through and do all of the stone part. And then for the basing, I'm actually going to make it match one of the sides of the board. So the board you get with it comes with obviously the snow base one that you see on the cover art, but there's also this kind of dark, earthy, kind of like if you're equating it to a paint, like a Xandri dust with something lighter kind of dry brushed on it. I want it to match this, and the reason is I don't want to do snow effects on all these. I think that would take too much time, so having it match the more drab one is definitely a lot easier. So that's going to be the plan. And but I guess I'm not going to worry about that until I get to, like, some of the fences have that little bit of line of base. That's going to be matching the brown, but the buildings for the most part are going to be the gray. So yeah, so everyone, tell me what you are working on. Fahad, I hope I pronounced that correctly. From Kuwait, that's awesome, man. What time is it there? I don't have any sense of that side of the world's time frames. And so for these, I'm basically getting all the edges, and I'm going to go back and do the roofs, like, you know, tin, and I actually kind of like some of the more fantastic colors, like the Sotek green, that kind of stuff that you see. Never worked with snow. How's it like? You know, the GW snow, it kind of is just like the texture basing material. I mean, that's really what it is. And it's okay. It can glob up. If it's one of those things that, like, less is more, I find. A lot of folks put just a little too much on, but I hear some good things about it. So almost 2 in the morning. What? You're a better man than me. I get cranky after like 10:30 at night. Sometimes 10:30 a.m. Depends on the day. Yes, I'm going to do all of the parts that are supposed to be stone, and then I'll go back through later and grab anything that's supposed to be a roof, or of course the skull things. Those are all going to be painted like skulls and bones and stuff. So gargoyles are a little weak, though, I will say. I've seen better gargoyles around. Joy of dry brushing, perfect for buildings. It is, you know, it's just easy. Make stuff go by so fast. I think what I'll likely do is do all of the buildings first and then do all the fencing things. And the reason is because, yeah, even though there's some crossover, I think it'll give me a nice break so I don't lose my mind dry brushing the same color for forever. It's just a good organized way to split things in half. Okay, Jelly, working on Daughters of Cain. Need to deal with my girlfriend, so I can't buy anything new before I painted my stuff. And she can't have anything new before knitting her stuff. That's a fantastic deal. Yep. Dry brushing terrain is time consuming, but it's you know, it's productive work, right? It's really nice when you're all done. You can like step back and be like, hey, I have this for as long as I want to have it. Because as we've learned this weekend, models come and go, but you know what? Having a place to fight your battles, that is forever. So yeah, a few of these are going to have metallic roofs that I'm going to weather a bit. And some, actually one I'm going to go for Sotek Green, because it's kind of like they do quite a few buildings with Sotek Green, actually. If you look at the Azerite Ruin box, they have quite a few designs with that on. I like that kind of stuff. I think one is Screamer Pink as well. That looks pretty cool. It's kind of out there. Getting around to dry brushing the last of my ruins in Rumby. Yeah, actually, so there's a company, and I'm gonna forget his name right now. Terrainheim, that's what it is. Haha, I'm not the worst. He sent me some, so he's in Australia. He sent me some MDF terrain, like at a discount. So I just wanted to review it, and I wanted it for Warcry. So I'll be building that eventually. But MDF, it requires a little bit of a different approach, because you got to seal it first so that the wood doesn't absorb the colors, and so I think I'll do that next. But it didn't seem like a good day one thing, because I'd have to keep stopping to go outside and seal it up. So my Warcry comes in on Wednesday. Or are you a little, I was thinking, stoked for the new Space Marine Codex and supplements? What do you think? It's DLC creep or you need a poor wallet? I don't play Space Marines, so I'm fine. As far as what other people think, I don't know. I got a good friend, Ben, who has faithfully played Space Marines forever. He does Salamanders specifically. I'm kind of curious as to his thoughts. Yeah. I don't know. I mean, you know, they're in a rough spot, because it seems like there are people who just want the basics of, like, you know, maybe they play Blood Angels and they're like, well, I need updated rules for my Primaris stuff. I don't know. You know what, honestly, I think needs to happen? I think they just need to get rid of Blood Angels and Space Wolves and all that stuff and just make them expansions like that. It's so weird because at this point now, if you're a Blood Angels player, you have to go buy this book if you want to use your Primera stuff, because that is the most updated War Scroll for, like, I don't know, I say Primera stuff. I was trying to think of a unit, but Hellblasters, there we go. That's what I was trying to think of. That stinks. You need a Codex to complement your other Codex, and that's a bummer. Please write down what paints I use. It's just I primed it flat black, and then I lightly primed over that with a gray from Army Painter, and now I'm just dry brushing with Ulthuan Gray. Very light dry brush. Not much to it. I'm trying to keep it simple. Honestly, like, I'm someone who I think terrain should not look as good as models, like the minis themselves. Because I think when you're doing a battle report, like, the miniatures should pop, right? That's the focus of the story. I mean, as cool as it is to have, like, a super baller realm gate in the background, I like that stuff. But at the same time, it's like, well, it shouldn't ever draw your attention away from the models and the story you're trying to tell, so I don't know. Yes, I have seen the models going on. Last chance to buy. We talked about that in the last stream I did earlier today, but not everyone came back. That's fine. Let's have a little chat on my thoughts about it. I'm not terribly upset, but I do feel for the people who recently bought in that stuff. And I do feel like it was poorly announced by GW. So I was getting the parts together for the statue, and it looks like it'd be easier to magnetize the base in the statue. I'm not sure what statue you're referring to. This guy? There's no way that's easier. Half a second here and I'll get back into the chat. I see some questions popped up for me. Let's see. Age of Sigmar is weird in that there doesn't seem to be either a respective elf or dwarf unified battle tome forthcoming. I don't think that makes Age of Sigmar as a whole weird. I think they just really want to break away from Tolkien-esque stuff. That's why they Fire Slayers and Carriage and Overlords. I will agree with you that I don't think there's enough pure Elven love out there. I mean, there's Daughters of Cain, which is really great. But Deepkin's its own beast because they have such like a mythological background to them that I consider it its own thing. I don't think of them as elves. I know that they technically are, but I just don't think of them that way. I'm not sure why. Let's see. Make me want to get scenery. What's your opinion on the Dominion of Sigmar kits? Oh, I love them. I love them. I haven't gotten any quite yet. I wanted to hold off and see about Warcry, like what kind of scenery that would work well with. But actually, what I plan to do now, having seen everything, There is going to be a Warcry specific set that uses those. And I'll probably wait until that comes out and grab that. But an idea that I have is taking that scenery set and then kit bashing a few things together to make like traps and making basically a gladiatorial pit out of the big semicircle one. And doing like a gladiatorial match type campaign where it's one-off battles, but they're set in a format, the gladiatorial pit, that seems like it's conducive to one-off battles and that kind of stuff. So yeah, I'm very excited about it. I think it looks fantastic. It is it's modular in the sense that like a lot of the sides and stuff like that you can kind of twist around and make your own creations. It doesn't have a lot of height, a lot of verticality to it, which I'll admit is a bit of a bummer. But I mean, if that's the worst I can say about it, is it doesn't have a lot of height, and I can always add things. My assumption is it'll be just like this kit, where I was talking about it earlier. One thing I really was impressed by with the, whatever this thing is called, the Corpse Rack Mausoleum, is that it comes with, you know, obviously your deployment cards for how to set this terrain up, but towards the back of that pile, there's a whole bunch of cards that mix together this and the basic Age of Sigmar kit, so you can make some really cool things by putting those two kits together. Or sets, I mean, not kits. They're not individual kits. Let's see, Gren Gamer making they'll be making more models for Wanderers. My assumption at this point is that the Kurnothi are going to be or smashed into Wanderers, and they're going to become their own thing. That's my thought. I have no reason to think that, but the fact that minimal Wanderer stuff is on last chance to buy. There's some stuff, but not like gutted like what used to be High Elves for sure. I'm really glad I didn't keep my High Elf army. I'll tell you that right now. Let's see. Yeah, that's my working theory right now. Is they're gonna smash Wanderers into Kurnothi and give us some cool Kurnoth flavor. Focus on the hunt. I don't think so. Wanderers are part of Cities of Sigmar, and Night Haunt is technically part of Legions of Nagash, but they have their own book. And that book came out just a few months after Legions of Nagash. Gotta catch up on the R1 reps. See you in the Discord. Yeah, I need to download Discord. I got a new phone, and I just completely forgot to, like, there's some apps, like, once they're out of your life, you just forget that you own them, kind of thing. And so yeah, I mean, Vince Ventrola messaged me on Twitter about asking about how I do my live streaming because he wanted to change things up for his program, and I just completely ghosted him. I was like, holy crap, I feel so terrible. Poor dude probably thinks I hate him. Let's see. Okay, so we got. I'm trying to think of the colors I want to use. Let me just pull some colors out here. I want to do one that's Sotek green. Screamer pink. Screaming bell. Lead belcher. God, I have like 4 things of lead belcher. Ian Balthazar gold. Sweet. Yeah, we'll go with these. Did you spray them with Gray Seer? No, I primed them black and then went over with them with a gray from Army Painter. Let's see. Dr. Zero, that's not how it works. It might seem similar, but the Cities of Sigmar is the Legions of Nagash for Order. Yeah, that's what I'm saying. Legions of Nagash came out, and then it had Night Haunt rules in there, and then they made a Night Haunt book. How is that any different from saying they come out with a Cities of Sigmar book, and then later they can fill in and add more distinct character to a given one? Furthermore, I mean, saying that's not how it works, like we're not part of that team, though. I don't know. Okay. Let's see. Okay, so we got our palette here. Let's see, got a large base brush. Alright, so now I gotta think about which one we want to be which. I think I want this one to be the Sotek. We'll say Screamer Pink. Still got brush cleaner stuck up in his bristles. So this might take another coat. I don't know. I kind of want it to be darker, and then I'll go back over with a metallic and pick out all the bolts and the little like bindings there. Got a cool little bolted on. Like it looks like all the panels have been like, I don't know, built in piecemeal, and I kind of like that design. I've always kind of liked it with this term. I've done this set before, and I actually, at the time, it was before I had the YouTube channel, and so I didn't think I was ever going to be doing battle reports, and so I was just like, Mark can have it, so I gave it to Shu from Rerolling Ones to have and hold and to keep. Chapter 0. Legions of Nagash is tied to how Grand Alliance death works. Unified armies of almost death units. Sigmar is the free peoples of the realms. These are also the allies. So here's the deal. I'm going to go ahead and just disengage. Because honestly, at the end of the day, we're just spotting both of our opinions. Me, I'd like it if they came out with the Cities of Sigmar and then came out with the Karanathi stuff. Wouldn't have a problem with it at all. More battle tomes to use your models in. I like that. I mean, I'm looking at that as like, oh yeah, I want to use my Stormcast Eternals with Cities of Sigmar. Just because I don't think the Stormcast Eternal book is super interesting at the moment. Are you painting gray plastic? No, it's spray painted gray. I have low standards sometimes, but that's paint on straight gray plastic is that's a different one. That's when you've reached a special place of hobby. Good news, it's hard to hear you, the music is loud. Thank you. I'll turn it down. I'm trying to find like royalty-free playlists, and so sorry, let me move my mic forward a little bit. Is that a little better? Can everyone hear me okay? Testing 1 2 3 1 2 3. Bum bum bum. Let me know. You know what makes me sad? BCR will not be in Warcry. Thank you, everybody, for your feedback. Imagine a stone horn on that board. That's funny. Good night, K. Jilly. Speak up. I just had to take a look away to get some. My door keeps banging on its hinge, so I was just taking a look at it. Sorry about that. Yeah. So let's see here. What we got going on? I'm gonna do just this roof in the Sotek green. It's actually one of my favorite colors. It's one of the reasons I went with this for Stormcast, which. You know, I'm not dead set on holding on to the Stormcast for forever, but I do love this color and all the things that you can do with it. It just brightens up so well. You can build the highlights into it really nicely. And it pairs really well with purple and pink, and I like those colors. For like magic and ethereal effects and that kind of stuff. So yeah, that's what we got going on here. What is everyone else working on at home? I'm gonna be at this for a good long while. I'm trying to think of anything else to talk about. Let's see. We already talked about the 40k. Oh man, I don't know if I missed any predictions for Gutbusters. I don't really do predictions, which is why I kind of stopped talking about the Free People's book with the other gentleman. I just don't, because I people get anxious or they feel like they're going to be right, and I just don't care. Honestly, I don't. I just take whatever they come. I'm excited for the idea of Maw tribes. I like that they're bringing the ogres back together. And actually, I was just had my finger hovering over a lot for ogres not too long ago, just because, you know, it's just a few models, right? You really can crank that army out very quickly. Things contrast Fire Slayer Flesh. But yeah. Let's see, AT. So when are you gonna sell/trade your Stormcast? I don't know, man. We'll see when this Ironjaws book comes out. The Ironjaws, the Orc Warclans, because if you have been following closely, like I was already kind of getting into Bone Splitters again, just because I love the models. I have a lot of nostalgia for them. Sorry, had to be a moderator there for a quick second. So I already wanted to do that, and then they announced that those two things are combined, Ironjaws and Bone Splitters, and so now I'm going to grab my Ironjaws that I sold to Jack, the blue ones. I'm going to get those back, so then I will have a full Ironjaws army, because I actually own a Rogue Idol of Mork, or possibly Cork. And so between those things, I should be able to build quite a nice Bone Splitters army, that kind of stuff. What do they call it? Do they call it just Orc Army? I mean, is it Orc Warclans? Is someone correct me? That's the name. I haven't looked at the post in a couple days. Orc Warclans, I think, is what it's called. Which I like so much more than Gloomspite gets. They just a name. I don't know why. Never liked the word gets. So at that point, I will be a full Orc player, and so we'll see how much I enjoy that. Yeah, that'll be a big thing. So yeah, and I'm actually kind of done painting Stormcast. Like, I painted a few extra hunters to have warbands for Warcry and that kind of stuff. Like, basically, I only ever had 3 of the what are they called? The Raptors with the huge crossbows. And oh, my music stopped. Why just that? Okay. So I only ever had 3 of those. I'm like, well, you know, I can hold on to 3. You know what I mean? Like, I don't have to sell every single thing in my collection all at once, always, ever. So I'll just paint the stuff I want to keep. And at some point, I'll probably put them up for a fundraiser to improve the channel, like a new camera and that kind of stuff. I do want to get a 3rd camera to... I have this dream of having a camera sit... if you've ever been watching the Warhammer Twitch thing, well, they have like a photo booth set up, and then they can put their models in there and like quickly go and like show you what everyone's working on and that kind of stuff. I want to be able to do that with my photo booth. So let's see. Also, thoughts on lack of verticality with GW reboxing old turn kits. Haven't had a chance to play Warcry, but it takes verticality. Yeah. So having things go up. Obviously, in this set, nothing goes up. But one thing I will add is that this isn't super helpful, so it's not a ringing endorsement. But one thing that is nice is in the box, they do give you some battle plans that include mixing in parts from the actual 2-player Warcry set, that battlefield, in with this one, so you can use those high gantries and that kind of stuff. I'll admit, it is a bummer that I mean, I don't know why. I feel like 40k terrain focuses on multi-level stuff so much more. Maybe that's just because they have Necromunda and Kill Team and all that stuff. But yeah, if you're a company that does 3D printing, terrain, or MDF stuff, like, my goodness, just making little walkways is going to be big business up front, because they haven't announced anything with more height added to it. Let's see. Hype for Ironjaws 2. How strong do you think the Orc Battle Tome is going to be? I don't know, because here's the thing, right? Like, I don't know if they're gonna go like Fire Slayers with it, where like the fundamental identity of that book got changed. Like, there's still, you know what I mean, like there's still like stocky dwarves like that, but like going from a bajillion after saves to your two wounds and fewer of those save after the save type things. Like, that's a big deal. That was a big design change. And so if you apply something like, not that exact obviously design change, but that level of sweeping change to another battle tome like that, it's kind of hard to predict, is what I'm trying to get at. So I don't really know. I don't know. Yeah, what am I trying to say? I'm trying to think of stuff that I would like. So I want the Bone Splitters to kind of, in some ways, remain the same, some ways change. Like, their wording needs to be updated a lot on a lot of War Scrolls. Straight up. I mean, just not even a question. This paint is, for some reason, GW Metallics, and it always separates super hard for me. I think that anyone needs a lot of updating, but I like a lot of the things that are in there, because I didn't realize until I rebought the Codex that it's one of the first books that had like screwing with the order of activations in combat, like making an opponent fight first or fight last, that kind of stuff. I totally forgot about that, but it's true. They have ways of making people fight last, or specifically monsters as well. When your savage boss fights, a unit nearby gets to pile in an attack too, kind of screwing with activation order. Like, all that stuff's awesome. Keep that in there for sure. Let's see. If you need any pointers or tips with the Ironjaws, hit me up. Yeah, dude. Shoot me a 1,000 point list. Because I need something to complement Jack's Stormcast for the team tournament at Nova. Gotta hear what you think about Hope for Slaves to Darkness revamp. Oh, like my thoughts on revamping Slaves to Darkness now that Warcry's out? That's a tough one. I don't really know. I mean, I can tell you what I'd like. Honestly, I've always thought if they came out in the GHB and just gave the Slaves to Darkness a really good like prayer list, I think they would be just fine. Because I say prayer list because you know, making use of like the war altar, that kind of stuff, I think would be really, really cool and flavorful and unique, because no one else has a priest like that. I mean, there's the Clan Pestilence has the big priest on the furnace, but I don't know. I think their thing is pretty unique and cool, and I like that. But I think focusing on prayers would be really neat. What else? Dang, probably missed if you answered my question. Dog got on counter when my pizza was cooled off. Oh no, what was your question? Ask it again, and I don't remember specific. I'm mostly just answering the first thing I see when I glance up from painting, so there's not too much silence, but also obviously I'm, you know, painting. Gotta look down. But if you ask it again, I'm happy to answer. If you could see a movie made for Warhammer, would you rather see 40K or AOS movie? What would you want to show in the movie, or would you rather see a new unique story? That's a tough one. I think, for some reason I think 40K would go better. Like, because, I don't know, people like the sci-fi stuff. I think they can get behind it. The fact that movies like Chronicles of Riddick, where they already had a dark future that has a gothic art style to it, which is fundamentally what that is, would be really, really cool. Actually, I'm going to use a different brush. So I think 40K has a better shot. As far as what I'd like to see, that's a tough one. I'd want a new story, and I want it to focus probably on maybe like guardsmen versus tyranids as an intro, just so, because like what you need is to be able to bring someone who's never heard of Warhammer into the fold, right? And you look at how many other franchises that do that kind of stuff, like Resident Evil, or how they just fail spectacularly. The first Resident Evil was really good. I actually really enjoyed that one. Silent Hill was awesome. Because Silent Hill had a lot of like just weird horror elements to it, but we were brought into this story at a very understandable rate, right? The woman lost her daughter, that kind of stuff. So, I don't know. It's got to be something we can relate to. So like, that's why I think a guardsman would be a great one. And then from his perspective, then interact, or her perspective, interact with the rest of what we, as people who already game in 40k, know. So like, there's a weird half-man machine that makes no sense to a new person, but to us, we're like, oh crap, that's a tech priest. You know what I mean? Like, we know that things are bad when the tech priest comes down instead of using robots. That kind of stuff. Let's see. Heard any new rumors about the new light elves? No, but I'm not really a rumor guy. As much as I'm not also a guesser guy, predictor. No, I don't have my thumb on the pulse of rumors, unfortunately. Sloth Bear, hey Doug, just tuning in. Building my bone splitters, nice. Yeah, actually, as soon as I get this terrain to a point where it's going to be drying, I'm going to grab my bone splitters. All I have to do is the basing, so it's all set. Okay, so I got these. That one looks good. That one looks fine. So we'll do, what we got left? Screaming Bell and Lead Belcher. Let's do this way. Actually, do this one first. Get myself all turned around. TJ Nuts, AOS seems like the lore would be better, in my opinion, than World of Warcraft movie they put in a while back. Oh, I haven't seen that one yet. So for me, I want a AAA movie within the world of Age of Sigmar. Yeah, that'd be cool. I think the major flaw when companies try to turn, like big universes into movies, sometimes I feel like they bite too much. That's actually one I think the crowning achievements of Peter Jackson's Lord of the Rings is if you've read the books, some of those references and you are like, I know this thing. But for the casual viewer like me, like I don't read Tolkien. I don't like the way he writes. He's too wordy for me, but I can watch that same movie and be like, that was really great. I appreciate, these themes and such and that kind of stuff. Like that there was, he made it very digestible. But I don't know. There's a lot of nods to people who know what's going on, but your casual viewer can still appreciate it. I feel the same way about Harry Potter. I haven't even watched all the Harry Potters, but I've seen enough of them. I think I watched four movies. Let's see. Speaking of basing, have you been using any tips you got from Vince Ventrella? Yes. For the bone splitters, the big stabba, I did that where he said basically give the brush that you use, the little plants and junk, give those a wash. I definitely did, and it looked great. I haven't gone back and done it to the Stormcast just because right after that video I kind of want to hit my wall, and I haven't been painting 2K armies. Nothing with that. I've been doing like Shadespire stuff, which comes fully pre-based. All those minis do. And so, but yeah, I intend to. Because now that he called me out on it and gave me a great, easy how-to tutorial, I feel like an idiot not doing it. Okay. It'd be cool if Warcry could figure out a cool way to add progression by a unit upgrade and expansion. Imagine if your unit could earn upgrades, no, if you could earn Arc's favor and ascend, get a mountain, etc. That'd be cool. My assumption everything has to have a model to it, so maybe there'll be expansion packs later on with new models. Because they don't want anyone to sweep in and sell, you know, blardy-blarg on mount. Let's see. Have you followed Vince Mantero's advice on using Vallejo metal colors for swords? No, I have not. Well, we didn't talk about swords when we were doing Vallejo metal for swords. I don't remember him talking about that. When did we chat about that? Metal color. I've no, but to answer your question, I've never tried Vallejo metal colors. That's not true. I tried the metallic additive, where it's just clear paint with metallic flakes in there to make it metallic. That was kind of helpful. But beyond that, I haven't done anything now. Imagine adding a Varangard team. Oh! But you know, when they make a Varangard team, like if each Varangard is not 333 points, I'm gonna be mad, because that means you're paying 100 points and not getting a full war team or war, you know, band or whatever. But it would be really cool. I'm in favor of most things ending up in the game eventually, honestly. Having looked briefly at the cards they gave for like Stormcast, you know, and that, honestly, I want to actually pause and chat about this for a hot sec. So one thing I do like is I was looking at the different cards for the different various factions, and what I like is that a Stormcast feels like a Stormcast. I believe they have 30 wounds, and they're just like tough. They're kind of good at everything, but they're so elite. They're priced out. You know, you can fit numerous other guys in place of a single Stormcast, and so I like that. That was my biggest thing with several games where it's just like, you know, you talk about like a Space Marine RPG or something like that, and it's very easy for game designers to get into a point where a Space Marine doesn't feel like a Space Marine compared to a human. He feels like just a job class rather than like a meta-human. So, I don't know. Griffins are so strong in Warcry. I hope so. I got 6 of them right here. I just finished painting the other night. Okay, so I have all of these doors and gates on these things are going to be a lead belcher. I'm just gonna wait for the roofs to dry just a smidge, because I have all the metal banding work to do. Let's see. DJ Nets, I want to try using non-metallic colors more in the future. I find they showcase highlights so much better. I have never tried non-metallic metals, but I see people talking about it all the time. People know my stance on painting it. 3 foot fabulous. That's where it's at. They can hit and flee. Oh, that's cool. Okay. Yeah, I'll probably take a break at some point and walk through those war scrolls. Not war scrolls, but you know, the cards, because I'm very curious. no metallic metals. Makes for some nice pictures. That's cool. It'd be cool if we could do... Oh, 1 second. Let me look down my brush here. It'd be cool if we could do a community-built warband, like a bunch of patrons each donate a single painted Daughter Arcane model until you have a warband for this channel. That'd be cool. I don't know. I can ask the patrons. I'm going to ask everybody. Worst they can say is no thank you. Because, I mean, the hardest part is just, like, getting a single... You know, I don't want to, like, make someone buy a $60 box of witches to have one witch sent to me. That'd be kind of lame. Oh, but I guess if they were also using it for Warcry, they would have the others. That's true. I'll retract that. But yeah. Actually, well, yeah, there you go. You go ahead and do that. I was going to say, actually, the faction I want to paint the least is Idmith Deepkin. But that's cool. If you want to get some witches, go for it, my friend. Ben says I've got 10 witches nearly finished, and hello. Well, hello, friend. Ben, Mr. Eatery-Eye, let me ask you what your thoughts are on the new Space Marine Codex announcement that there's going to be supplements for your salamanders? So while Ben's typing furiously, I'm sure, just rage typing, I'll keep going with the questions. What about doing something like just a Grand Alliance? Have them vote on which Grand Alliance to use and then send in their favorite model for that faction. I'll paint it up. Well, I mean, he's talking about having a Warcry warband, so there's very specific. Because if someone sends me one, I don't know, Grot and one Bone Splitter, they don't make a... There's no Grand Alliance rules, from what I understand. Is there? I don't know how that works. I could be totally wrong on that. My assumption was you had to like pick one thing because I didn't see anything about allegiances in the core rules. But I hope you're wrong. I honestly, like, today I got my, box set, and I haven't even really looked at the rule book yet. I was just very excited to start streaming, get this stuff together. I'm hoping to start, like, doing real content for it tomorrow. At the very least, I can put together a, review of this box set, which, you know, I was snarky about it when they announced the Corpse Rack Mausoleum, but I'm really liking it. I feel like I got a good value for it. I love the fact that it came with cards to mix in the Warcry set, even though I know that that's not going to be for everyone. But it certainly does add some, as we talked about before, some vertical elements to the game, which I think are very important. Alright, Ben. Pumped up the new Space Marine announcement. I wasn't expecting to have a supplement for each first founding chapter. I also noticed there was going to be a chapter builder included. That's cool. Dude, I'm happy that you're happy. You've had that army. How long have you had that army? Because, like, as long as they've been around. You're not that old, but you know what I mean. Let me grab a finer brush. Oh, Dave Dog, you play all the sub-factions. Poor wallet indeed, my friend. Picked a bad day to be an everything player. Let me ask you this, Dave. honest question. Do you feel like each of those factions has its own flavor? Or do you sometimes feel like, are they a little samey? Because I get different responses, so I'm genuinely curious. I've had people say like, no, not at all. My Blood Angels are, you know, they built the collections differently, and so they do play fundamentally differently. But like Primaris Blood Angels are not vastly different from Primaris Space Wolves or whatever. It is rumored they're going to be publishing Codex's books for the main successor chapters as well, which makes sense. I mean, they're going to go through the effort of divorcing, you know, the main chapters and switching the way that they do stuff so that they could change supplements without changing the entire book. Yeah, why wouldn't they just keep investing in that strategy? At a certain point, they're just printing money. Which, hey, you know, as long as people enjoy it and the books are of quality, meaning there's cool art for various chapters and that kind of stuff, go for it. Okay. Let's see, the first Space Marine model I bought was probably in 99. Whoa. Each faction has its own unique flavor, specialized units and lore, but also have different stratagems. Okay, different stratagems, that makes sense, yeah. My thing is like, so for example, like Space Wolves, right? I don't want to get into Space Wolves because I don't want to buy like their unique units because those are all the old style Marines, not Primaris. And that's a real bummer. But they don't have any like Primaris dogs yet. Okay, gonna lurk again. I was taking a break to eat and jump in conversations. Sweet. Yeah, dude. DJ Nuts, you have yourself a wonderful day. We will be here just hobbying. I might need to take a break at some point and go get a fan because it is blazing hot in my hobby room right now. I play orcs, which are so much fun to build, paint, and play. Yeah, dude. I had an orc army for 40k, and then I gave it away to somebody who was in need of it. Best decision ever. Let's see. It was 2006 before you could fill the full army, Ben. That's interesting. I did not know that. Let's see. Yeah, it's been a toasty week. I moved to Seattle because I like 50 degrees and cloudy. That's my sweet spot. If I never saw the sun again, it'd be too soon. Yeah, unfortunately, I don't think I played orcs while I had a no, that's not true. I had the Codex for a little while. Yeah, because I definitely ran them as the Goths, where I could do melee just as well as shooting. That was cool. That's my favorite ever. Sometimes get me depressed. Yeah, I actually when it gets oppressively hot, like multiple days in a row, I get like legit sad. I really struggle. I completely understand that. I mean, like, it's like backwards, retarded seasonal depression where you're just like, sun's supposed to make me feel better, and I just want to go home and cry. Totally. But also, I just tend to run warm as well, so I just get uncomfortable and I don't want to be around people. I asked Jack, so I mentioned before that Jack from Early Ones is at a big GT today, and so I'd asked, like, what's the temperature and or body odor situation like, and he didn't really say anything. And then Brent from Early Ones went there and texted me privately, and it was just like, BO is in full effect. I was like, oh no. You know where you don't want to be? Crammed in with a bunch of gamer bros when it's super hot inside and outside. Yes. That's a hot pocket nobody wants. Here, 1 second. I'm going to take a sip of iced coffee here. Alright, so we got these. Various weather neither makes me happy or depressed. I think that's pretty standard, and I think most people are not supposed to be as reactive to the weather, but for some of us, we just are. The nice thing about these ones, it really just seems to be the gates. I'm okay with that. Bro heat, yeah. Yes, my term that my wife despises is dude heat. When I say it's just a living heat engine, right? I don't know. If your locomotion burns down or breaks down, just get 30 Magic the Gathering players. That'll make steam. Oh my gosh. I made the mistake of going to a big Magic the Gathering place. Mox in Bellevue does huge Friday Night Magic events. And my goodness, like the windows become like slick. And you're just like, oh. That sound is an onomatopoeia, right? That's just like, it is what it sounds like. Oh. There's no way around it. Okay. You gotta love that gamer funk. Oh, yeah. There's an ultimate. I mean, like, I run warm and I know that I am a sweaty dude and I'm very self-conscious about it. So I take extreme care with like deodorant and antiperspirants and try to, leave my house smelling good. And then I get to a game store and I'm just like, I need to go home and take a shower. All that work that I just put in feels nullified by everyone around me. The Matrix robots turn dude heat into something useful. Exactly, yes. Yep. That was the most believable part of that movie. Common thing I hear about conventions is the overwhelming smell of BO and body heat, to the point that some gaming conventions were handing out free deodorant. That's just not good. That does not... It's not good for us as an industry. Like for example, we're gonna go on this tangent. Let's get real, okay, gamers. Let's get real about BO. When I go to a 3-day event, a 3-game event. like I do bring deodorant. Like on game 2, when we're taking a break to go for lunch, I like go to the bathroom, clean myself up, because you just feel better too. I mean, it's not even about like I don't think I sweat so much that I really rank the smell, but just feel clean, feel good. Go shake some hands and lose some games. I like to think that I contribute to the gamer heat, but not the BO. Bring a TM gas mask. Baby powder in the morning, deodorant all day. I don't understand the aversion to good hygiene. You know what? I don't know either. You know, every time I get judgy about it, like I'm poking jokes right now, but the people who really do get very, very critical. I mean, there's rants far worse than what we just talked about. You know, I wonder if it's just when they were growing up, their parents just didn't teach them the value of like feeling good about the way you look and smell. You know, I mean, that's obviously at some point it's your responsibility, but I don't know. Stuff. Do you think we may see something like what they just announced for Marines come to Stormcast, where you get one book and supplements represent smaller specialized groups? Well, John Penn, I'll tell you what, I want that more than anything. I mean it, because unless you're playing Hammers of Sigmar, the book doesn't feel like it supports me. I'm a Celestial Vindicators guy. If GW was like, hey Doug, you want to pay $20? Because they're small. I mean, they're not really great. Even if it's 35. You know, if they said, you want to pay $35 to get some real flavor for your army, I'd be like, yes, right? That's just me. Like, I absolutely would, in an absolute heartbeat. Because I feel, as someone who doesn't play Hammers of Sigmar, I feel like I don't know. GW doesn't care about my chamber, my storm host, whatever it is. Because like the fact that we don't have a model for Gardas, you know, I was like, come on, like he's so cool, he's so important, he's in so many places. Give the guy a model, you know, like dedicated rules, that kind of stuff. So I don't know. Yeah, I don't know what to tell you. I'd like it. I don't think. Like, I think there's only enough lore for some of them to drop that kind of thing. So, like, I think there's Hammers of Sigmar, obviously. There's some other ones. Hallowed Knights, Celestial Vindicators, and Astral Templars. Those 4 were in major stories in the Realmgate Wars. So there's actual, like, stories to draw stuff from. The other ones, like Celestial Warbringers and Tempest Lords, you know, they exist in the lore right now, but they haven't been shown as much. So like that would be an opportunity to write more. So I don't know. Oh, Doug, playing Stormcast, not feeling supported. No. The army is supported. The storm hosts are not. And that's where I kind of don't understand what GW wants. Like, do they want Stormcast to be like the Space Marines where they have the various storm hosts and are all supported and that kind of stuff? Or do they want to walk that back with Space Marines and be like, hey, grab these supplements, and one day they'll get rid of the Blood Angels book and the Space Wolves book, and it'll become an add-on to the Space Marines book? I don't know. It depends on what they want to do with it. Let me tell you something, Grumble. Back in my day, when you bought a book, it had rules for everything. Okay, so I think I'm ready to throw a wash on all the roofs, and then we'll take a break, and we'll go finish up not a break from the stream, but I'll take a break on the train, and I'll go crank out some bases so I can have the Bone Splitters race and grab the wash. Let me tell you something. Whatever army I play doesn't get enough support. Whatever that might be, I can tell you. It changes weekly, but somehow I always seem to find these armies that just don't get enough love. I like the Stormcast book where it is. The only thing I do complain about, because I do think other books have done it better, except for Skaven, and I complain about it for them too, is I really like War Scroll battalions that are straight from books and like tell stories. And that's one thing I don't know. I've never won anything with my Stormcast, but I just feel like they don't have battalions that do that, tell stories and draw on the lore. Don't worry, we can give you a Matt Ward Codex. I don't want that. I don't want to be so good that people hate it. None of my complaints are about effectiveness. They're all about lore. I'm taking that to the tabletop. That's actually something that Jack's running into. So he really loves Slanesh. Oh, he has as long as I've known him. And one of the problems he has is that the book is just intensely, I don't know, the summoning, it's rough. Like, it's a really effective book. I won't say broken, but it's a highly effective book. More highly than he was expecting. And so he's kind of bummed about that, because it's like he can just easily stomp someone into the dirt, and it's just not what he wanted. You know, he wanted a middle of the pack but be really good at a middle of the pack type thing, and what he got was like a NASCAR in a street race type thing. So I don't know, it's tough when you want to be, you want to be supported, but at the same time it's like there is a point where you're like, you don't ever want to feel bad for bringing your favorite army out just because it's so effective, but people will make you feel bad for bringing your favorite army out, unfortunately. Let's see. New question, but do all Stormcast Eternals models show up in list, or does it tend to be all Sacrosanct, all Vanguard? It tends to either be Sacrosanct or Vanguard. One or the other, generally not both. And the reason is, Sacrosanct stuff can be extremely tough. You can do lots of rerolls to your save and modify it, and you can just plop on an objective and grind them out, and then evocators can mortal wound people to oblivion and that kind of stuff. The other way to go is Vanguard stuff, which focuses on shooting, and that one's a little bit different because that one you need a lot of mobility. Those are generally the main ways you see it being played. Someone can correct me if I think I'm wrong, but that's my how I perceive it. There's a lot of perceived deficiencies with the book. I don't know enough to agree or disagree. Like I said, all my complaints are lore based. I don't do the competitive stuff, but I know like our local Stormcast guy, he really takes them, competitively to some of those major events. His thing is a lot of Sacrosanct, and a big, what's he called? What's the big dragon called? I can't remember. Star Drake. And just plops that in the center of the board. So the idea being you waste all your time trying to fight the stupid dragon who has like a 2-up rerollable on a good day, and it's the Sacrosanct guys who, with their super shields, are sitting there scoring objectives. It's cool. It's a cool looking list. Beautiful army. Got to play that. That was when I talked about in one live stream I did. No, it was in while you were forging, hanging out with Craig. I talked about like one of my games being more educational, one being just tougher, like in competitive sense. That was the competitive one, whereas he was instructing me on how my teeth kicked in with Stormcast. Let's see. Kronzor 86. Whatever happened to your venture into 40k? I still will eventually. I have been playing like Kill Team. It's just I was so excited for Warcry to come out because I do love Age of Sigmar and I love skirmish games. Like I said, I was taking a little bit of a hiatus from big 2K armies. I got kind of burnt out on big old games that take so much time. And so, yeah, they're still coming. I still, like I said, you can't see they're off camera, but I have quite a bit of Death Guard. I've been slowly collecting them. So I'll get around to them. Let's see. The summoning was very strong before the book. Yeah, I've heard that. Like, I didn't know much about it. I've only played like a handful of games before the actual book came out against Jack Slanesh, and he didn't play it like to lean super hard into summoning just because he didn't have everything painted and it was for rolling ones. They want everything painted for the channel, so he didn't lean as hard as he could have. But I had heard, that it was pretty good beforehand. And that folks are generally surprised that they didn't fix the summoning table, or adjust it. And I shouldn't say fix, but adjust the summoning table. Which I don't know. I never saw it on full display, like I said, but I don't know. The nice thing is that if that's the problem, that's easy to fix, right? I mean, in terms of like just having an FAQ that has a new chart rather than like fundamentally changing, like this is how summoning works. You know what I mean? Like changing Khorne's summoning mechanic is vastly different from just saying like, here's the blood type points it costs for XYZ. These guys. Let's see. Getting some detail done here. I'm okay that there's a little bit of pooling on some of the sections because I'm going to go back over and dry brush some lighter colors. Pick all that out. Yeah, 40k stuff's still going to happen. Like I said, I got Death Guard. I was somewhat tempted by a friend getting rid of some Chaos Space Marine bikers, but it's like, no, I don't want to go backwards and get the bikers. I'm good. I like the scale of the current Death Guard stuff. He had a bunch of the old Forge World Death Guard, which looked great back in the day. I happen to like the newer Death Guard stuff more. What do I got? I got the basically I have the Star Collecting box of 2 or 3 extra heroes. Not Star Collecting box. I have the oh god, what's it called? Dark Imperium. There we go. That was hard. Dark Imperium. A box of Plague Marines. Some hero, I can't remember. The Tallyman, I think. Like not he's the mortal, whatever. And then the blight drone that's like on wheels. And the Codex has been next to me on my feet for about 2 months now. My wife actually has been pushing me to get into 40k more and more. Actually, she doesn't have an interest in it, but you know, she's been super supportive when I was kind of in my funk this last month, which I think was part just tired from playing big old 2,000 point armies, and part of it was just hitting a funk with AOS and just needing to kind of, like, you know, remind myself that I'm allowed to enjoy other stuff. And she's like, you know, have you tried incorporating this? Like, no, but I do love the lore of 40k. I just have kept backing away from it because there's already so many people who do it. I don't know. Any plans on eventually doing 40k lore or just sticking to AOS? No, I would definitely do lore. I mean, I would do primarily lore because honestly, that game changes at a rate that I can't keep up with. So any 40k content would most likely be lore based, almost exclusively. For example, like, I mean, no, I guess I did move the Codex. Never mind. That was right next to me. I was going to bust it out and show you, but no, it'd probably be almost all lore focus. Let's see. Sweet. These are going to look rad. So I'm going to go back and paint up like little shields and stuff later on. I got to touch up some of the gray. I kind of was a little goofy when it came to the brush and putting on the roof colors, but that's all right. We'll save that for the fixing stage. The fixing, yes, the fixing stage. Let's see. Good news, everybody. My phone decided to vibrate like a mad person and make a whole bunch of noise just to let me know that there are Pokemon in my area in Pokemon Go. Very important announcement that felt the need to make my phone go ballistic. Okay. Let's see here. So we got Crossbow Bros. We got Hounds of Griff. I will do those real quick and then we'll move on to the bone. Actually, a smart Doug would do the bone splitters first. Because I put a wash on their bases and that'll take time to dry. See, I'm thinking. Well, those Pokemon aren't going to catch themselves. Okay, so need that. And I need this. Okay. Yeah, so for taking Vince's advice, someone asked about if I actually took his advice. So basically, what I would do before, like for example with the Stormcast, I'm just going to make them match what I already have. But for the bone splitters, the way I've been painting them is I do the Astro Granite. What's it called? Yeah, Astro Granite. And then I give it a red wash. I want them to look like they're from Akshi. And so I give them a red wash, and then they build up the gray afterwards. So there's like this faint red hue on everything. And then I grabbed some of those shrubs, and they have like specifically burnt-looking ones. And so I put the shrub on there, and then give it a wash with Caribou Crimson, so it kind of bleeds into the earth a little bit. It looks cool. So I don't have my big Stabbin near me, but I did it with him, and it looks great. Let's see. Atomic Topher, you're not going to go through all 500 of the Horus Heresy books point by point? No, I choose sanity. Although I will say the Horus Heresy does interest me more. Well, I don't know if it interests me more than just general 40k. I don't know. What really interests me is like the oppressive government that is the Imperium. Actually, I think in terms of like a specific faction that visually interests me the most, it is definitely AdMech. Just gameplay wise, they don't really do it for me in terms of model diversity and that kind of stuff. But and yeah, I think that the idea of like the devaluing of human life in the far future, and they think they represent that with the servitors and that kind of stuff. almost more than anyone else, just as a really clear demonstration of like, you do not matter. you can't matter any less than you already do. So much so that like we'll use you as a little bit of, you know, a thumb drive for a computer, basically, that they turn humans into. It's like, oh, that's so bad. I love it. One question in AOS: are there any bonuses for running Sylvaneth alongside Elves Wanderers? Nope, no bonuses. They are two completely different factions, so you can do them as allies, but there's not really anything at all. I mean, I'm assuming when the Kurnothi stuff comes out, I would like there to be at least a battalion that lets you take Sylvaneth in there and get, you know, kind of integrate them a little bit. That'd be kind of cool. But to my knowledge, with the new book, there's not anything that mentions Wanderers. And I'll be doing a full show and tell a little bit of my Orc Warband here. Once I get the bases done, this weekend I went out and I bought. Well, I guess it was last weekend with Amazon doing their big Prime Day, or whatever. I grabbed one of those like display things that spins really slow, like it does like 1 revolution per minute, where you can put something on there, it'll spin around for you to make it look fancy. And so I'm going to put that in my light box, and I can show off, do really cool Warband intros and that kind of stuff. So I'm excited to see what kind of use I can get out of that. Probably makes it a lot easier to show off stuff. Two guys left. Okay. And the Stormcast can be easy peasy. I'm just going to basically dry brush some lighter colors, some lighter browns. Yeah, this has pretty much knocked all of my other projects out the way because I was so excited. I even have that very sad half-built Gundam from Gundam Wing Gunpla model. Just kind of like, I was like, nope, being boxed up, put out of the way. Okay, here we go. So they're drying. Got my dry brush here, that's nice and clean. Sweet. Okay, let's grab. I think I usually do Ulthuan Gray. Not Ulthuan. Ushabti. There we go. Rest in peace, Gundam. No, I'll finish building him, honestly, because what I really want him for is to be a cool background piece back there. So he'll get built. I don't, my closet is not the endless void that it seems to be for some other hobbyists, where it's like, oh yeah, I put my ogres in the closet, and it's just like, when? Back in 2012, and you're like, oh my god. For some, I'm one of those people, what's the name of that, that lady who helps hoarders? I can't think of it. I think she's Korean, I think. Who helps people, like, you know, does this object love me? Does it bring me joy? That kind of stuff. Like, I have always been that person. I cannot stand hoarding. Like, we moved around every year as a kid, so like very few attachments to things. Like if my Stormcast, as much work as I put into them, if I reach a point where they no longer bring me joy, which they're heading towards that point, I'm just like, done, in the mail, eBay, get it out of my way. I want nothing to do with it. and that's why I get rid of armies. I'm like, I'm not gonna hold on to this stuff. It's not making me happy right now. Meh. Condo, thank you. That sounds right. Makes me want to paint your Deepkin. Sweet. You know, the one Deepkin model that I look at and I'm like, oh, I want that. And I might just get it for myself just to own and paint is the shark. The you know, the two guys riding the shark or whatever like that. Because, like, I really love Dark Eldar. And I love the venom, and that just reminds me of, like, if you had to have like an organic venom, right, like a creature used as that is exactly what it would be. So some of the mausoleum buildings seem wobbly, specifically mine in the picture, because mine, the ones that I built, they all felt great. Oh, not a clean fit. I had one that wasn't a clean fit. Just the one. I think it was this one. The paint kind of covered it up a little bit, but like basically, like, yeah, it wasn't quite right. One of those two wasn't quite right, and I put the gargoyles over the intersection where those two pieces met, and it looked okay. I mean, also keep in mind, like, I am not much older than this kit. Like, it's been around. That thing has seen the full lifespan of the old world as the Garden of Moor kit, and then came back as the Sigmar Mausoleum, and then has come back as the Corpse Rack Mausoleum. That's funny. It's like the Terminator in T1, just will not die, unrelenting. Rest in peace to a bunch of older models. Yep. GW gives and takes away. I said in the Rerolling Ones group, someone had mentioned that, and I said, you know, like, the one thing that's important to remember is that they can't take away the memories that you made when you were playing them. And someone kind of made fun of me for being all sappy. To which my retort was, you know, the real Tomb Kings were the friends we made along the way. And that's how I want you all to think of it. Okay, got that done. So now, just got the huge box. It's heavy. Yeah, dude, librarian. Like, so I went into GW and he had like a box that almost like form fitted the Warcry set. I was like, okay, that seems right. I went to pick it up and I was like, oh, it really took me by surprise. It was kind of funny. I looked probably very pathetic. Let me grab my little, here we go. And so following, if you didn't know, Vince's plan, basically, I'm going to glue down some of these little nubbins of grass and then wait for them to dry, and then basically go back over with a brush I don't care about anymore, like a dry brush, that kind of thing, and push washes into them so that the earth around the grass and the grass itself kind of takes on a hue. And then when that's dry brush lightly the tops. So that'll take a while because it's a lot of drying, waiting for layers to dry, that kind of stuff. But yeah. I'm making my golems as the Shattered. I like that. Mine, if you're curious, are going to be the Void Smiths. Anytime I can use the word void in something like that, I'm like, yes. To the max. Okay. Oh, those multicolored Gryphounds. Yeah, I just wanted to play around with contrast. I couldn't think of a better time to play around with random colors and stuff like that. My favorite one is this one where I went from kind of a khaki to a green. He's the goodest of boys. Okay. Servants of my own chaos goddesses. Okay, right on. Cool. Isn't that guy? He's frequently on here named Hugh, who I think he came up with his own chaos god, and that's cool. Dig that stuff. I just tell people nothing is so sacred that you can't add on to it. That's like the GW way, man. Half the characters that they have in 40k were just because some guy in the office was like, oh man, I gotta name this dude for a battle report. His name is Gazgul Galdraka, and then that becomes Gazgul. That's literally what happened. I think it was Andy Chambers did that. Yeah. Is Sigmar the Chaos God of Order and Nagash the Chaos God of Death? Well, I think chaos becomes a problematic term, but they're certainly the gods of those things. Incarnates are a better term. I'd agree. Yeah, incarnate is typically what they used to say. Oh, God. Can't get much done because my doggo is mildly tummy sick. Oh, that's a poor guy. If Sigmar is an incarnate, then he is of Azir, not Order. Yes, that is correct. There are many gods of Order. Only one god of Azir? I don't know how that works. I really want the Seraphon book to clarify how they relate, because they have like Azir lightning and I don't know. They seem to like be demons of light, but Sigmar had nothing to do with them. What are they doing, Sigmar? I don't know. Lizard stuff, I guess. Memory stuff, I guess, is more like it. But oh, and I painted this guy. Red, white, and blue. He's my Captain America dog. Most patriotic boy. There we go. Let's see. What I never understood is how somehow Slaanesh has more kinship towards Khorne than Gork or Nagash. Yeah, I mean, so it's kind of weird to explain to someone, but like, it's not like all the gods are equal, and then there's these four over here who are crappy people. Like, there is chaos, which is a fundamental primordial thing, and then there's also this pantheon of mortals who have ascended to godhood, and they're different, right? Like, Khorne, Slaanesh, Tzeentch, and Nurgle are fundamentally different and have more in common with each other because of their nature and how they interact with the realms and that kind of stuff, and how they're empowered, whereas what we would call the good gods are linked to a realm and a wind of magic. The chaos gods are linked to emotion and you know, like Khorne is rage and Nurgle is despair. They're just linked to different things. So they're not. It's not like there's a bunch of gods and 4 are crappy, right? They're different, which doesn't help to explain anything. But there it is, as Jeff Goldblum would say in Jurassic Park. Well, there it is. Chaos finds a way. I'm making golems bright yellow with happy face motives. That's funny. Chaos gods are primal forces. Did I not say that? I meant to say primordial. Like they've been around for forever, and yeah, that's what I intended. Maybe I got it mixed up when I was ranting and confused it with the other ones. If I misspoke, I apologize. It's hard to see any chaos gods on the same team for any particular reason. Yeah, I do wish there was more stories of them working together to achieve something. I'll give you that. I guess one of the stories that I really did like was, it was in the Realmgate Wars. And so the Realmgate, the big all points mega gate that leads all the forces of chaos in, not all the forces, but a lot of the forces of chaos into Gur, is actually inside the maw of a giant worm. And so to control that, Archaon basically chained the worm's face up. So he had like several, I don't know if it was 8 or 7 or something like that, but a number of towers basically, and that were all chained to this thing, and each tower had different troops in it. So there was a Khorne tower and there was a Slaanesh tower, so they're mixing together. And like when the Stormcast dropped and we're like, how in the heck are we going to do this? Basically all heck broke loose because they all fought differently, right? Like the Khorne guys were like, we can't let them walk on our tower, and they rushed out there. And the Slaanesh guys were like, well, we can't be shown up by them, and they rushed out there, and everything just kind of fell apart because of all of their hubris. It was very interesting. Okay, so I'm gonna whip up some black and basically go around the bases here, just get the edge of them, paint it up right. Does Hashut Hashut? I don't know what that is. Hashut still exist? Is that Tomb King's thing? Does anyone else know? I don't know the answer to Timothy's question. I've never heard of a character by that name, but Hashut is the god of Chaos Dwarfs. Oh, I did not know that. I mean, the most Chaos Dwarf support that we've gotten in AOS is the fact that in the Iron Golems there is a dwarf who fights for Chaos. But that's pretty much it, sadly. I want them to, I mean, I really would like it if they came out with a revitalized, at least like a mini book or something for the Chaos Dwarves on Forge World. Just, it's there's such a cool army just sitting there that I would love to buy it, because I like to be a special snowflake and play weird stuff. But they just haven't done anything with that line as far as lore and that kind of stuff. And it's like, no, you gotta put some work in if you want to sell those things. The gods make more sense in the structure of 40k than they seem to do in fantasy. Can't comment on that. I don't really know. They sell it on Forge World. They sell Chaos Dwarves for sure. Yes. Yes, I know they still sell them, but I want some like lore support. I want a book that's like, here's what they're doing in AOS. Right now there's just the PDF download that gives you their rules in like a paragraph and a half of, yeah, they're still here. Okay, cool. New warbands in the new Warhammer Underworlds box seem interesting. Yeah. I really like the Beastmen. They look great, very dynamic poses and that kind of stuff. And a Kurnothi, I'm of mixed opinions about. I love the design direction. I don't love those specific models, which is something that, like, you know, if I hadn't seen Carriage and Overlords and I only saw the Underworlds warband, I'd kind of feel the same way, because like when I think Carriage and Overlords, I think cool ships. Of course, which you would never understand from looking at just the Shadespire warband. I'm like, okay. So I'm willing to give it a try. You know, when I say give it a try, I just mean reserve judgment until I see the full model in. Alright, those guys have a lot of drying to do. And so do the Bone Splitters. Wonder if it's the color of their hair that you don't like. I don't like the red. I think it clashes too much with Fire Slayers, frankly. But I would like to see it in blue. I want to know why Dark Elves didn't lose a single unit. I don't know. That's a good question. Like, for realskis. Blue anime satyrs, exactly. Yeah, I already posted several of my thoughts regarding those minis. I compared them to Fry from Futurama, to... What did I do? Oh, I did a Super Saiyan fusion between Fire Slayers and one of the Kurnoth dudes. Yeah. Oh, and one more. One of them was Mr. Tomness. Figured the Drakespawn Cavalry and Chariot would have been removed. Yeah, me too. I don't know. I'm going to laugh real hard when they're like, actually, all these things are just being reboxed and everything else is being removed. And people are like, what? Absolute bait and switch. Pretty sure the entire Warhammer sphere would just explode at a certain point if that happened. It would have been genius because then it sold out. Yeah, exactly. GW, man, all you gotta do is watch my channel. I'll give you all kinds of ideas. And I'll laugh the whole time because, mainly not because I want anyone to like get overly anxious, but I really dislike content creators that use that anxiety to, you know, get views and that kind of stuff, and it would totally mess with them, and that would just make my day. What I'm doing is just taking the Stormhost Silver and just kind of wearing and tearing the copper a little bit here. Balthazar Gold is one of my favorite paints. All you do is you give it a good wash, make it nice and grimy, and then you just dry brush a little Stormhost Silver on it, and boom. Looks old AF. I do hope Sky Cutters are gone. I like the Sky Cutter kit. Not the best, but it's all good. To be honest, I like the idea of Goodbye Beastman, which that warband seems like. Oh, Good Guy Beastman. I was like, goodbye. I feel like they just got a friggin' battle tome. Yes, no, I know what you mean. Sweet. Coming along nicely. Don't hope so. I just finished 100 free people over the last weeks. Hope they get some Warcry rules. Oh, I'm sorry, man. I got nothing to say except for I'm genuinely sorry. Oh crap. There we go. A little paint log just decided to form up on the tip of that. At least they weren't 100 archers. I am bummed that it's going to depreciate the value of my joke about codpiece in the first while you're reforging. Shadow Elves will be my good guy army. Yeah, I was genuinely surprised to see how much Empire stuff went away. The High Elf stuff I get. I mean, I played High Elves. I like those models, but I can look at the, the design direction of AOS and be like, yeah, they don't quite fit. Which does confuse me because there's so many of the Dark Elf stuff didn't go away that I expected to. So I'm like, I don't get it, but okay. Before I let myself get upset, I just, I say, hey, you know what, G-dubs? Impress me with what you have. What you're going to do, right? The Cities of Sigmar. I don't know. Impress me. Are we sure the stuff is going away? Well, yes and no. Some of it clearly is. Other stuff, I wouldn't be surprised if there's one or two things that are like getting reboxed or whatever like that. It's possible. My local GW manager has said, like, don't forget that it's possible. But he didn't have any insider info. He's just like basically trying to keep people from getting too upset. So I don't know. If I'm honest with you, I don't really know. It was sad to see the Empire Knights and Reiksguard go away. I had a ton of Ulrich Knights. I don't know what that is. Ulrich Knights. I only just came in. Where was this information from? Oh, a bunch of stuff went up on Last Chance to Buy on the GW site. That's what we're talking about. You can go check it out. They're Empire Knights with cavalry hammers, and where lore follows Ulrich. Yeah, I'm not a old world guy. I don't know who Ulrich is, but that sounds cool. Cavalry guys and hammers. That math adds up to be something awesome. May they get new knights. I hope so. I want, like, as much as like having different types of models would complicate the game, I miss cavalry being scary like cavalry was in fantasy battles. Like I played like the last 6 or 7 months of fantasy, I think I said before, and I liked when my high elf cav went into something, right? Like, it just felt like, oh, you gonna get it now. I don't feel like I have that same feeling when I play with any kind of cavalry, Paladors, boar riders, anything like that. Yeah, I've played lots of different armies, of course, you all know, but yeah. Would have preferred an elf battle tome and a dispossessed and a free people battle tome. Me too, honestly, me too. If I'm being super transparent. Like I said, try not to let myself get upset, but it's a bummer. I tend to be more sad for other folks who their collections are more invalidated. I have some stuff that can't be used anymore, but it pales in comparison to someone who has like a full free guild army and that kind of stuff. So let's see. Yeah, these are looking great. W Soren, what up? Just painting up a few things. Man, this is coming out super strong. Experience the flagellants to be removed. Oh, expected, oh, yeah. Well, that's the kind of thing where I look at that and I'm like, I don't know if that kit's going away. Like, someone had said, like, oh, I think what do you call it? The shrine, whatever it is, kit, shares parts with the Luminarch, so maybe that's going away, but they're just reboxing those parts into something else. I don't know, there's a lot of speculation right now. I'm just like, ugh. Why I tend to stay away from rumors. Just got the notification you are back. How much have I missed? I've been online for almost 2 hours. Oh my god, I've lost so much in my life. Yeah, I've been online for about 2 hours. Right now is just adding some the weathering, the little patina and rust effects. Trying to make these things look old and forgotten. Let's see. Oh wow, new Warcry terrain. Be perfect for my night hunt to roam around in. Yes, it is the oldest, newest kit in the whole wide world. It's like 15 years old. Let's see. I picked up a copy of Hammerhall and Ambleguard after the announcement of the new battle tome. Hopefully they're not fully retiring models. Picked up a copy of Hammerhall and Ambleguard. I'm not sure what that is. Copy of Hammerhall, Ambleguard. I don't know. Just got oh wow, let's see. Criticism I have of the new Cities of Sigmar battle tome is how you can still use units from newer armies, while the whole point of the book should be to encourage the use of elf dispossessed and free peoples. Yeah, so like it, for example, like me, I mean, in particular, like I plan on going full bore, grabbing the Cities of Sigmar book and just running Stormcast, you know? And I like that happens, but I completely understand exactly what you mean. Let's see. Thanks for sharing a hobby time. Really like the terrain with lots of bright roofs. Yeah. You know, so many of the warbands I plan on painting are going to be very dark because I like the darker, you know, broody types. So having colors that pop on the buildings, not enough to distract, you know, because you don't want to pull attention away from the models. That's the whole point of what you're doing. But just something to make them look, you know, interesting. That's actually one of the things I've loved about AOS. And you look at the color palettes that they use for the various buildings, and even like Seraphon, like they use very vibrant colors. Like I've never gotten so much use out of. Like this is Sotek green, those kinds of colors where it's like, you know, this would look a little weird if we're going with like German style buildings like we did in the old world, but here it just kind of works. I like it. Those are the Free City Battle Force box. Oh, that's right. That's right. I forgot they came out with those. The ones that had Stormcast plus blank. Yeah, that'd be cool. Copy of Hammerhall and Ambleguard after they announce the new battle tome. Hopefully they're not full retiring. I don't remember what's in those, to be perfectly honest with you. I haven't thought about those sets in a long time. What's everyone else working on right now? We've been talking a lot. Trying to think of what else I have left. What's the Pantheon rework? Like, what does that mean for AOS? What's a Pantheon rework? Davis MMA, I'm not sure what you mean. What's a Pantheon rework? Warcry is good, just finished moving everything. Nice. Painting Stabas. Nice. That's the way to go. Staba a clock. Would have thought the roof decorations would be Sigmarite, not a cross. There's quite a few twin-tailed comets on these things. There's certainly one on the big gate. I mean, you know, you say it's a cross, but really it's a giant skull, which is the most GW thing there is. But yeah, there's quite a few twin-tailed comets kind of sprinkled about. But also, remember that this kit came out before Sigmar was necessarily the bee's knees that he is now. Building everything, not moving. Okay, right on. Okay. Painting iron golems up like ultramarines. Cool. Dig it. That's awesome. Enjoy, my friend. It is your hobby. You got a name for him? Guinea pig Sith? Like what you're gonna name your warband? I was telling everybody like mine, I'm gonna call them the Void Smiths. Pulling your leg. Yeah. No. You can't pull my leg with paint schemes because I am affirming of everything. If someone was like, I'm painting Hello Kitty themed Necrons, I'd be like, yes, you should, because that makes you happy. Send me pictures. You will be hard pressed to get me to be like, ew. Managed to play a 4-player game of Warcry earlier, and it actually works. Oh, that's awesome. I have found personally, sorry, popping back a little bit. 4-player matches, equal number player matches, always tend to go better than odd ones. I tend to find that the 3 players where things kind of fall apart. But that's very good to hear. Thank you so much for sharing, Alex. Okay. I assumed it should be better than Kill Team. Oh, awesome. Yeah. Yeah. I think part of the reason why I think it has a better chance of doing like better than Kill Team is simply because I think Kill Team has so much more ranged elements that like I can be, so say there's 3 of us, right? 1, 2, 3. I can be moving towards this guy, but then randomly, for whatever reason, shoot this guy and kind of like effectively take him out of the game and then just go 1 versus 1. So you can get that kind of weird situation where like somebody doesn't feel like they're playing a full game and that kind of thing. That's a real bummer. What do y'all think? Here's my based on roof color. What do you think? So we got the Screamer Pink with a dry brush worked in Pink Horror. So I'll hold that up here. Camera's not going to focus because it's kind of a turd, but yeah, so we have that. Of course, it's just gray dry brush. And I'll go ahead and clean up some of that stuff later on, but that's how it basically looks. Here is... what's that one? That's like the Skaven one, right? Screaming Bell, yeah. Screaming Bell, it's got a metallic kind of finish to it. It's got kind of a red in there as well. And I just went ahead and you can see all the cracks and stuff I filled in with nickelite oxide. Here is Balthazar Gold with very rich, dark, earthy tones. Same thing. And then these are both the same, but they're Sotek Green with highlights of Hydra Turquoise from Army Painter to kind of brighten it up a smidge. You could also use Temple Guard Blue. Does the same thing. Screaming Bell did well. Yeah, I like that one. Looks like a nice copper. I've had it come out. So this is a brand new pot. The last pot I had, for some reason, it did come out just a hair too red, and it almost looked like Word Bearer's red, where it's like that red metallic. I was like, why? Why is it doing this? It's just one of those paints that I guess, I don't know, there's just trouble with. I have a lot of trouble with Pallid Witch Flesh for whatever reason. Multiple things of Pallid Witch Flesh I've bought, they just become super chunky and chalky, and they don't like, no matter how much I thin them, they always look too stark. Because like in some tutorials they're like, you know, put Pallid Witch Flesh over Rakarth Flesh. I'm like, okay, and I try it, and like the difference is so stark that it looks gaudy. I was like, nope, we're not doing that. So typically what I do when I do use Pallid Witch Flesh, because I gave up on buying new pots, like I'm not buying any more new pots of this stuff, I'll do Rakarth Flesh and then 50-50 Rakarth Flesh with Pallid Witch Flesh just to lighten it a smidge, you know, or at least blend it in a way that at least it doesn't look terrible. No, I don't even think I did wash this guy. Yeah, he got washed. I forgot I had this last little one that was just a silver boring roof. Give me 1 second, I'm just looking for a paint here. So for the super basic looking metal one, I'm going to throw some typhus corrosion and some riser rust on there. Make this thing look rough. Do other Warcry terrain boxes come with terrain cards? Yes, as far as I know, every single one of them will. Which is good. There might be a screaming baby walking by. I can hear him outside. If you hear it, I apologize. It's a neighbor. Yeah, as far as I know, they all will. Just because that's part of the thing is, I'm not sure how I feel about that. I'm still a little on the fence as far as like them telling us how tables should look. Because part of the fun for me is building cool looking tables, and I'm going to explore that concept of a smidge in the channel. But yeah, so they all will. Okay. That's right, Pallid Witch Flesh is hard on Rakarth. Got third pod of screaming baby music. Yep. Hold on a sec here. Still alive? Yes, I am. It's all like toothpaste and won't get diluted properly. Yeah, I've had terrible times with... I gave up on Warcry. I haven't touched a pot of that in many, many moons. I do know, like... I mean, I've heard it said, like... by people I follow on YouTube as far as painters go, like that white is very hard to do because of the nature of it. I don't know anything about that, but that's the extent of my knowledge. Okay, so we got these things. And... I want those to match this. So let's take some color samples here. Don't know why I didn't catch you. I was hobby for the few hours. Took a wine break. Oh, that's the best kind of break, man. You go take your wine break. Let's see. So I'm just going to grab a whole bunch of colors and we'll figure out what belongs. Landry. XV. Okay. Wine has been taken. Nova is a few weeks away. It's funny. Yeah, man, it's coming up fast. My goodness. Okay, so I did this before with a guy, and his suggestion was to find the darkest point, match that, which looks like maybe XV88's a good base. That's too red. No, can't be Skag Brown. I'm going in between Steel Legion Drab. Actually, yeah, I think that's probably right. Have 3 of steel in there. Don't. 3 of steel. I'm not sure what that means. Actually, we're going to go with XV88 because I am low. And then we're going to give it a super hardcore dry brush with Xandri. That's the main color. And then Shop T. I don't know. Carrick Stone looks really good too. Okay, cool. Which side of the map are you painting your starter set terrain from? I haven't decided on the starter set. This one I'm going. This is from the Corpse Rack Mausoleum set. They have the snow side and the tan earthy side. So I'm going with the tan earthy side because I don't want to do snow on these buildings. Yeah, that's what I'm doing. I haven't actually looked too hard. I got the Warcry box. I opened it up. I kind of like, you know, I did the thing you have to do when you get a new set, which is just breathe it in. Like, yeah, new box smell. And then I quickly closed it up and I was like, you know what? I could paint this set so much faster than that one. Why don't I just do that? And so that's what I've been doing. Let's see. Alex says, also notice there's a gargantuan rune mark in the core rulebook. Wonder what that's going to have. Yeah, that's the thing is I'm excited. I'm excited for the set. I like it. It's cool stuff. But I'm also very excited for what it could be in the future with just minimal support, right? And so that has me pretty pumped. I was going to go back over these stones later on with the stronger gray color, so I don't mind being a little messy here. Plus, there's going to be a building on this thing anyway. I don't know why. But once I realized that the Corpse Rack Mausoleum actually comes with more buildings than it does like these base things. Once I figured that, I was like, oh, well, I should just glue the building to here, so that way I have one with the base, one without. Don't matter. Chaos Gargant, yeah, man, they got to keep finding new ways to sell that same kit, just like this one. All right, how many armies can we shove the same effing giant in, and then we'll make him a mercenary? Of all the kits to be like, we gotta get our money back on this one, boys. Which is, you know, of course, how they talk in jolly old England. We're gonna do it, guys. I refuse to let the Chaos Gargant be a net loss for our company. That's just something the CEO promised at a board meeting. We've had this one anchor hanging over our heads for decades. No more. Let's see. I'm amazed at how far these sets have come over the years. Haven't played or painted anything since '96 except traditional paintings. That's awesome. I'm actually looking at getting into traditional paintings. Honestly, I mean, people can probably guess this from the way I talk, but I'm a huge fan of Bob Ross. To the point where like doing the wet on wet palette stuff really does intrigue me, and I would love to be able to turn what he does into like fantasy-scapes and like make my own backdrops for fantasy scenes and things like that for AOS lore. I think that would be really, really cool. Project Chaos Guardian will be a success, I swear. Exactly. that's how you paint landscapes. That's cool. Bob Ross, wet on wet style. Yeah. I know it's probably not like his patented thing, but you know what I mean. Sometimes you just get credit for making it popular, you know? Look at Steve Jobs. All fighters in a warband must have the same faction rune marks, so no Grand Alliance warbands. Yeah, I kind of figured that. Unless they come out with an expansion that's like, you know, instead of escalation, it's just like complication. You know, all of a sudden you can do whatever you want. Let's put it happy. Yeah, exactly. Maybe in your world there's a little blood reaver running at you. And you got to make a second one because everyone needs a friend. Is there an open play variant? I believe so. I think it has all different ways to play. Someone can correct me if I'm wrong. But I feel like that's just kind of the way they do now with games, where it's just like, why not have a variant where you can do whatever you want for no reason? That's the freest rules there are. Now the part that I'm really not excited about is all these stupid fences and junk. Mainly because it just takes time to go through each one of them with like the steel color. And like for these, so like the skulls on all the mausoleum bits are like stone. But these are intended to be skulls left on the edge. You gotta go through and paint these stupid skulls. Wait for this to dry, and I got to do the base first because it has to match. I got like built up color, so got to do the base first, and then we can get to the grays and that kind of stuff. Fear the roses on all of it. Oh, as far as like the roses and all those things. Yeah, I might just do the. I did the roses for. So the Shadespire or Underworld Night Vault set that comes with the Night Haunt. The Briar Queen of that is like throwing her arm forward, and there's like vines with the roses on there. And I did the vine with, I think, the Astra Militarum contrast green or whatever like that, the drab green, and the roses with the Blood Angels red, and they look terrific. So that's exactly what I'm going to do. I'm going to do all the stone and the metal parts, and then I'm going to go back through with the brush on primer and just do the contrast paint after that, because I'm not killing myself to do all the roses and that kind of stuff. So yeah. Hey, please tell me the playlist from your last stream you did an hour or two ago. Let me see if I can find it. I literally typed in copyright free music, and that's what it gave me. So I am not actually sure. I'm looking it up right now. I'm not seeing it. Let me go to my history. Got. Okay. Droid Skull. Listen up. So the channel is called Chill Out Records - no copyright music. And it was one of those lists. I can't tell you which one it's on, to be honest with you. I have no idea. But they're all pretty much the same, to be honest with you. So it is no copyright. Sorry, it is Chill Out Records - no copyright music. Contrast is great for terrain, absolutely. Phil Hall, have yourself a wonderful evening. Go get some sleep, my friend. It's a big day of announcements and junk. Let's see. Oh, got 1 hour left. Don't dawdle. Pokemon evolutions happen twice as fast. I'm just kidding. Let's see. Okay, Jack's doing well at his event. Golf clap for Jack. Okay, so we got this done. And the next thing I want to build up, so I'm going to dry brush pretty much the entire thing with Xandri dust. That gives it that nice, I don't know, dusty tone. And then I'm going to intermix, just kind of play around with different colors of dry brushing different areas with Carrick Stone and Ushabti Bone. And that'll get it that nice, I don't know, mixed color. It'll look vibrant. And I just keep looking at these buildings and I love them. Oh, it is such a good job. There's a few times that I'm like, yeah, Doug, you're doing it, buddy. But I look at these and I'm just like, yeah, they look great. They look so much better than the old ones I had. Go, Jack. Yay, golf clap. I'm waiting for Typhus Corrosion to dry here. I wanted to make it look like this corner of the roofing was falling apart, so. Not going to wet blend tonight, but I'll finish my details. Last 30 of my 110 yellow plague bears. Oh! That sounds straight up miserable. That does. I might need to pause here and go get some water at some point for my throat, because I've been chatting for, I think, a sum total of 5 hours today so far. But that's super funny. 110. Let me ask you this, Andrew. Is there a way of doing... Well, first, are you using those in AOS or 40k? But secondly, if it is AOS, is there a way of doing Nurgle well with just mortal stuff? That's something I've always wanted to know. Like, is it effective? I know that some of the demon stuff is just really stinking good, and I don't want to, like, ignore that, but... Whenever it comes to chaos stuff, the mortal side of things always intrigues me so much more than the demons. Vikings are good, right? I have no idea. I'm waiting for someone who knows more than me. Okay, Andrew. Just got out of Necron Warrior. I plan to base coat it white, splash of red and pink, and I'm just sure how to Hello Kitty the gun. Do it. Okay, yeah, just waiting for everything to dry. How's the bone splitters looking? How's that ink? Oh, okay, that's nice and dry. We can pause on these because that base color has to dry completely before we can dry brush anything on it, but we'll put those to the side. And we'll grab our bone splitters. And I'm gonna take a hot second and I'm just going to clean up my area. I kind of get a little stressed when I'm like really blocked in. This is just a really small computer desk, so there's kind of stuff everywhere. Helps me focus to kind of like, you know, put some stuff away, reset, recalibrate. Still need that, and I'll still need this color. That's okay. Okay, got this, got these. All this stuff's going over to the side to dry. Actually, artifacts from the set that it came in. So let's just throw it in there. There we go. All I need now is Skaven in Warcry, and I'll be happy. Yep, I would love to see. Skaven would be awesome, especially if they did Storm Fiends. That would be sick. Maybe that'll be like the like kill teams had elites, and all of a sudden, like the escalation of stuff will be those guys just tearing into the world. Weird that Beastmen aren't in it now. I'm interested. I'm interested in what factions are coming in the future. Short answer, yes, Mortal Nurgle are competitive. The Plague Bearers are the more point efficient what they do in option, but it's their hot pick. Okay, well, that's, I appreciate the answer for sure. Actually, I kind of wanted this brush. I'd love to have a rattling gun in Warcry. Ooh, yeah. Storm Fiends could be gargantuan. Oh yeah. I just think I'm just honestly more or less thinking of Vermintide. The first time you see a Storm Fiend or a Rat Ogre, you're like, oh god. They're just terrifying and they move so fast. It got me good the first time I saw it. The game does it right when you see a creature that you technically can beat, right? Because they wouldn't make a game that's literally unwinnable. You know that you can beat it, but you feel like you can't beat it. That's how you know you did the design right. When you fill players with despair. But yeah, it'd be interesting because gargantuan in Warcry doesn't necessarily mean how we perceive gargantuans in AOS, right? So like a Storm Fiend would be a gargantuan compared to a basic, orc. Sure. That math checks out. There are a few Death Star builds. Look at Chaos Warriors with Lord on Manticore, the Rotbringer and Mortal Magic artifacts. 4 to 6 play. Okay, yeah, cool. That's something I've always wondered. It's an army that's always been in the back of my mind. It's right up there with Seraphon the same way, where it's just like, I know that someday I will paint a Seraphon army. I don't know when. I have no plans to, but it will happen. It's the Wayne's World. It will be mine. Oh yes, it will be mine. What do you got to do to use a Hurricanum in Warcry? Someone posted up a blank, War Scroll equivalent, whatever you want to call them, in Warcry. And I'm going to make my own creatures for narrative battle reports. For example, I really, really want to do a narrative campaign where I follow one warband as they encounter all the others, right? The camera kind of stays on one story. And I play a bunch of games, and I want like the gods themselves to try and tempt this warband to join them. So, for example, like we'll do Iron Golems, right? That's pretty straightforward. We all know that warband, what it looks like. The Iron Golems fight off the Orcs. The Iron Golems fight off the Stormcast, and the Gloomspite gets. And then Khorne is like, I like these guys. And he offers power to the leader. He rejects it because he follows Archaon. And then Khorne says, well, if you won't be mine, I can't let you be his, and sends a Korgorath. Like, that's what I want. So... I will be doing that. You can look forward to fun narrative stuff in the future. If you catch me at Nova, you'll see my Golden Chaos Warriors. Oh, I'd love to catch you at Nova. Gargantuan Warcry will probably just be models too big for doors. Yes. Not differently abled, inconveniently abled. Let's see. There we go. Skaven are nice. May include some monks to your Maggotkin. I hear they're pretty great in Maggotkin. Before I got rid of the Skaven parts of my collection, I was considering like using them to kind of slow grow transition into a Maggotkin army. And I was like, oh, but I got all these Stormcast. I should just play with them. We've been fine with Warcry just using the current Chaos Warbands. I want them to add rules in the future for stuff like Blood Warriors and Blood Reavers, maybe Skull Reapers, that kind of thing. Like, I want them to add to it, but I am happy they went in a different direction, because focusing on stuff other than the gods, focusing on like origins, right? Like where these people are from, why they fight, how they perceive chaos. Because what's interesting, and I'm going to highlight this when I talk about Warcry lore, so everyone here, sneak preview. One thing I find interesting is that all the warbands worship chaos, but they perceive it differently. And the only other army that we have that kind of does that in the same way, like on the same scale, is Destruction factions, all perceiving Gorka Morka as being different. You know what I mean? He's this very abstract, he can be anything. He's the guy who drinks rivers and fights mountains and headbutts the sun and all this weird crap. But like, he is an actual thing. Whether or not those stories are true, you know, I don't know. But for example, like we know the Corvus Cabal, who's the Bird Boys, see their god as like this great hunter and stalker and carrion scavenger and that kind of stuff. And in actuality, they're worshiping chaos as a whole. They work for Archaon, but it's interesting. So I like that kind of stuff. I want to see more of it. It's what I wanted humans to be. It's what I really wanted, frankly, free peoples to be back many, many moons ago. And I was like, give me a flavor. Tell me what humans in action are like, right? But that's cool. We got Cities of Sigmar coming. Let's see. Looks like we're almost ready here. The big flesh eater quartz thing isn't gargantuan. It has 40 wounds. It might be because it flies around and would make gargantuan pointless, though. I have no idea. Oh, you mean the what's he called? Flayer? Is that him? Flayer? I think that's his name. I haven't looked at those cards yet. I'm interested. Flayers, yes, thank you. Let's see, I'm with Celestial Coastal Wargaming. We set up 40k tables, so I'll be there all week. AOS, RTT. Oh, you're talking about Nova? You'll be there all week. Sweet. Yeah, I let's see. Finished building my bone splitters. I wonder if their range units will make it feel like Kill Team. I doubt it, because there's so many friggin' negative modifiers in Kill Team. That's, you know, that's the one thing about that game that gets me. It always has been. I hate when you roll dice and nothing happens. It actively makes me disinterested in a game. There's a new Marvel skirmish game announced by former Privateer Press peeps. One thing they mentioned was a 2 versus 1 where one person is uber powerful. Would like to see that in Warcry. Yeah, that seems like a pretty easy to bolt on thing. I like that. You know, yeah, like, what's cool, you know, some folks have criticized the complexity of the game. Like, oh, it's too simple, they wanted more time. Which it's not, you know, and I don't like... in one interview that GW themselves said, this is the spiritual successor to Mordheim. I was like, no, dude, like, don't even put that in people's minds. It's not Mordheim. But what it is, I do enjoy. Core Chosen did that with the Valkia model. Ooh, that sounds awesome. I do like Valkia. Warcry is such a good base to build on. Yeah, that's what I'm saying. It has a lot of expandability options. The fact that I've come up with, you know, I have a Google Doc just filled with like, here's just some actions that I could add to narrative games, and kind of putting together my little campaign system. But I did that before the rulebook was even fully released. I was like, okay, so you have these actions, we can add this one, and this one, and you know, we can make our own big enemies like the big Korgorath I want to have fight somebody. You could do, I mean, I think they really need to come out with a very grainy campaign system, to be honest with you, to satisfy some folks, because that's just what some people are into, and that is totally cool. But on the whole, I think it's a bang up start. And the fact is, like, we look at the Gargantuan thing, like, that tells me, like, they have a huge plan probably for what they want to do with this thing, and that's really good to hear. You know, when Shadespire launched, it's like, you know, how long are they really going to support this thing? Do I really want to invest? How much do I want to invest? That kind of stuff, like, as far as like throwing money at it. And then, you know, obviously they ended up doing a lot of support for that game. It's doing really well. I've heard people love it who have never heard of Age of Sigmar, and that's awesome to hear. I guess they've heard of Age of Sigmar, but they haven't played it. But yeah. But yeah, that's why I started doing the Warcry lore videos, because there's a whole bunch of people who aren't looking for Age of Sigmar lore. They're like, oh, I play Warcry, I don't play Age of Sigmar. What the heck is that? Warcry will probably get a Commander and Elite expansion. I hope they don't get a Commander one. I'm not gonna lie to you, I wasn't super pumped on that for Kill Team. I was like, no, let's keep this to the small guys. But I've heard nothing but great things about Elites. Ooh, that was almost bad. Sounds like it could be a narrative boss fight. Yeah, that's cool. Yeah, it depends on how they do it. If it's like, you know, we have to destroy the necromancer on the top of the hill, that could be super cool. All right, let's take a look at this. Ooh, baby, that fits right in. Look at that. Can't even tell where my genius starts and the board begins. Oh. Cool. Okay. Well, that is a pretty easy way to do that. What do y'all think? Does that match pretty well? I'll adjust the light so it's not like blinding on the board, but sweet. I got a good job from a few folks. Awesome, awesome. Oops, sorry, I mean to bump the light. I've been reading through the Warcry rules. They clarify things much better than AOS core rules. Specifically, all the rules for moving on terrain are good. Yeah, you know, that's the thing. So when some of the book stuff was being leaked, the movement section was spoiled, like one of the earliest things, right? And then it had stuff like jumping, climbing, flying, and all that kind of stuff. And I was like, you know, most of the time when you're first playing, you know, the actual box set for Warcry, you don't use a lot of those. Or you might use jumping to go from one of those big things to another, but honestly, you're not using a lot of it. But the fact that, you know, there's the dude with the harpoon who rips people towards him, right? Like, that uses those things, because then you're going to use, you're going to make it basically a jump, move off, and then fall. I don't know. I love it. Very well written for that exact kind of stuff. Because having those things well written facilitates models being able to use cool rules like that, ripping people off terrain, or, you know, I said my idea for ramming stuff earlier, like ramming people off of buildings. That's how you do it. Sweet. I am super happy about that. Okay. And that combination, let's see. Is that here? I'm going to leave it out for myself so that I don't forget it later when I go to do the bases of all the fencing and that kind of stuff. So there they are right there. And these bros need a minute more. No index drives me mad though. More of an issue with AOS books though. Index. Oh, you mean like index in the back of the book? Yeah. I was thinking like the 40k indexes when they didn't have battle, you know, codexes. I was like, what the hell are you talking about? They have battle tomes. No, I know what you mean now. I'm on board. took me a hot second for my brain to kick in. Okay. Oh man. Dude, we made some serious progress today. I got this sucker around 11. I got it built. I got at least half of it painted. Oh, I mean, I'm going to call the buildings done. They don't need a whole lot of work. I'm going to do some washes later on, but then it's just the fences, the stonework on these guys here, and I got to plop some plants on these things. And dude, we're pretty much done. Like ready to do a battle report of Bone Splitters versus Stormcast. Let me grab my Stormcast and see how they're doing. All right. Good, nice and dry. Okay. Which books would you start with to read for Stormcast Eternal specifically? Ooh. Stormcast Eternals. I really liked Soul Wars. They give you a sense of, like, you know, Stormcast being reforged, and that's super cool. What else would I recommend? If you... Black Talon was a pretty cool look at Neve Black Talon specifically, if she's a character that interests you. What else? I'm trying to think. Hammer Hall and Other Stories has several regarding Stormcast. Plague Garden, I've heard great things about it. I didn't get a chance to read it this month. Black Pyramid, which comes after chronologically, so maybe you want to read Plague Garden first, I believe. Stormcast Warbands are really good. Yeah, Gryphounds have an excellent ability. Well, good, because I got 6 of them. It was like the only things that I had that fit. I mean, I had... So these guys, unfortunately, I already built. I would have built one of them with the other weapon. I can't remember what it's called. But yeah. +1 for Soul Wars. Stormcast Eternals being heroes gets boring. Soul Wars makes them dynamic, and you get the entire Nighthaunt side of things. Yeah, dude, that's the kind of cool thing where, like, when you describe what a Stormcast... I'm going to look away from the mic for a hot sec. When you describe what a Stormcast is to someone, if they don't think about it too hard, you can be like, oh yeah, they're immortal, they don't die, they keep coming right back, and you'd be like, oh, that's super static and lame. And you know what? That is. What's not lame, though, is like an eternity's worth of trauma that builds up when you can't die, and sometimes they wish they could die and they can't. And every time they die, they lose pieces of themselves, and so you have this like identity crisis going on. Like, there's some really cool story elements that I feel like were not touched on until we reached Soul Wars, unfortunately. There was a good 2 years where Stormcasts were narratively not the most exciting. You had to really kind of dig into it to come out with that. But yeah, they are really, really cool. And that's, you know, I have a video coming out probably this week about like what I think Stormcast books specifically need. And I think focusing on trauma is a must. Yep, that's all I got. When AOS first came out, I hated Stormcast because I thought they were animated suits of armor. Yeah, that's actually a lot of people thought that. That is not uncommon, which is interesting. I never got that. I never thought that, but it's interesting that so many people did. I mean, and looking at them, I'm like, oh yeah, I can see totally why somebody would think that, but nope. So if you didn't catch what I just did, we did the Vince thing, which is we put down texture paint for these bases. We dry brushed them to kind of make the surface pop and the texture show up. I put my little shrubs on them, but now what I just did was I put a wash on them. So that wash is seeping into the base area around it, so it looks like it belongs more on that earth rather than just being like literally glued down. And then when that's dry, I'm going to go over with my dry brush, and I'm actually going to flick the top edges of these little plants with a lighter color to make it pop. So there's like all kinds of gradients even within the pre-made shrubs, and so that'll make these guys look extra good. And we'll do the same thing with these boys here. I have burnt plants, basically. These little shrubs, but they're burnt, they're like black. Put them down and then do Caribird Crimson into them, and they'll look pretty darn good too. So yeah. What else? I think at this point, everything is pretty much just waiting to dry, and that's the worst. I hate waiting for stuff to dry. Let's see. This guy there. So yeah, that's 2 complete warbands like that. I love it. Let's see. I think I'm gonna hop off, friends. Been at it for a sum total of 5 hours today. Hardcore live stuff. My voice is going out. And Andrew is right. That means it's time to pour a drink. It's time for me to go grab my vitamin water and cut that with a little bit of rum because it's too strong. So I once had a coworker who she took a sip of Sprite and she was like, oh no, that's way too sweet, and then dumped a bunch of vodka in it, and I was like, you're a champion. Sassy 50-year-old woman, I love it. Okay, friends, you all have a wonderful night, and I will catch you next time.